Good morning. I'm back making another video. And yeah, interesting that my last video was on the mystical way, which was a few weeks back. And I've just been going deeper into cosmology and global cycles. And a lot of things are starting to click for me. And so I just wanted to, keep riffing on the upcoming changes and share some of my reflections and synthesis. But I will preface by saying I'm not an expert on global cycles, and Jovian actually just uploaded to YouTube a free RAW lecture on the 2027 changes and the Great Mutation, so you can go watch that. And Jonah Dempsy has a really great video on global cycles, so I will link that in the description if you want to, check out some more stuff. But yeah, so I don't know where this is gonna go. As always, I'm just gonna see where it takes me. Yeah. So I feel like in my last video I was, I did discuss, or maybe I didn't, I cannot remember, but I believe I discussed some aspects of the 3740, but maybe I just did in the context of my design. But as most of you probably know, watching this, we are in the cross of planning right now, and we're at the end of it. So imagine a 400-year cycle, and now we're 5 years away. So we're at the peak of the cross of planning, and we're at the peak of humanity. Not to be doomsday about it, but this is really, the culmination and the peak. People, we think, we have these images of the future and what that's gonna look like, and we're gonna keep innovating, and we're gonna keep changing. I'm gonna be in fucking hover cars, and we have very distinct images of what we think the future looks like, and I obviously don't know what the future looks like. And whilst human design can present us with a mechanical phenomenon of the precession of the equinoxes and the equinox, it shows us the mechanics, right? It's a mechanical changing of the wheel, but still it's not it cannot predict this is what's going to happen. It can tell us these global themes and give us an indicator of what this next cycle is going to look like, depending on the background frequency. But yeah, I don't personally believe it can predict, this is the exact event that's going to happen. So we live in this age currently, and something I did, in the mystical way, I was talking a lot about, this is all my own definition, and I carry so much of this background frequency in me. Also considering I fall in the cross of planning, that's my incarnation cross. But we all carry the background frequency. Anyone who has been born before 2027 carries the background frequency in their bones, and it's not until the last person dies from this era will there be a completely, we'll see the new world, if that makes sense. So it's not like the curtain shuts on 2027 and suddenly like there's chaos and we're in the dark ages or whatever it is. This is a gradual process, right? It's a gradual breaking down. It's a gradual change and shift. And for people who don't believe that it's going to happen, well, first of all, you don't have to believe anything. I'm not asking you to believe anything, but I guess I want you to look back at history and to think about the rise and fall of empires and historical epochs. And why does that happen? We don't know why that happens. I'm actually not a history major, so I don't really know how Rome fell. But like, why do these hugely successful, dominating empires and civilizations fall and then something new comes in to replace it? It's the changing of the background frequency. We think that all of these themes of like tribal support of the 4037 and logic, the 16, the 9 polarity, the logic of skills, and our obsession with work and being dedicated to the family, to the community, to our friends, to our neighbors, love thy neighbor. We think it's us. We think it's human qualities of us. We think that the way larger institutions have been structured and, the rise of nation states and like all these things have just been a natural evolution of humanity. But it's all driven by the background frequency. It's all driven by the changing of the wheel. So, when we talk a lot about no choice, like, this is on a very large scale of, as a species, we don't have a choice how, we're just little, programming agents that are running around and doing what this larger mechanical program is telling us to do. So, it's hilarious. And the program is not like we anthropomorphize the program as if it's like, something that has a conscious, like, a god or a creator, but it's not that. And we all carry the program and receptors to the program within us. We control the program. And these things called locks and keys, which, I'm not great at explaining, so, watch Jonah's videos for that. But the locks come from the cross of the vessel of love and the cross of the Sphinx. And these locks don't change, but what changes is the keys. And the keys change as the precession of the equinox shifts. And so each era has specific keys. So like these keys are kind of like the themes which go along with the locks. Yeah. I think that's probably like a really shit explanation. But for example, the current keys right now, we have the cross of planning and the cross of the Maya. These are the two crosses which are the keys that are going into these locks. So, not every cross has a definition. So that's why it's actually really fascinating to think about, we're in this era of the cross of planning and we have this definition of the 3740. So that's the dominant, it's going to dominate everything. And we're moving into another era where there's also a definition where the 3420 is going to be that dominant background frequency. So let's just think about the 3740 some more, because we don't, it is the bedrock. It's the bedrock. And this channel is all about the bargain. And you do this for me, and then I'll give you this. It's that bargain, it's that deal. And we don't realize that our entire lives are set up on a bargain, on a deal. We expect that when we go to the grocery store, it's going to be open and there's going to be food there because all the trucks have delivered all the food from wherever they're coming from. We expect that the trains are going to be on time. There's a bargain that the train's going to be on time. We expect when we call up an emergency service here in Australia, 000, that someone's going to be there on the other line. And these are all extreme examples. I'm giving the examples that Ra used. But, you know, our whole lives are set up by these bargains and these expectations that that we will be looked after. And this is a very tribal support mechanism, right? And this whole thing about reclaiming our individual authority when it comes to human design. Right now, it's so easy to be taken care of by the background frequency because we have larger institutions, whether that's, I'm just going to give government as the biggest example. We have these larger institutions that, will look after us, that, in some countries, that will look after us and that we can rely on and that we can outsource our authority to them. So, it's quite easy to be a homogenized, not self person in this era because you're being supported by these bargains and deals due to the 4037. There is this nature of support and, I studied media and, Marshall McLuhan's idea of the global village. We're all one. Let's all, we're all connected. The internet connects us all. Let's look after our community. Let's, globalization is the epitome of the cross of planning, which I find really interesting. Because I just feel like times are shifting, right? And I feel like the pandemic is, the pandemic started in 2020. It's like a 7-year genetic cycle before 2027. So, yeah, we're not going back. I don't know how things are going to evolve, but there is no we're going back to how things were. That's just like the nature of life. Okay, so one of the locks on the vessel, I have the image up in front of me, that's what I'm looking at, is gate 25. The polarity, gate 46, 25, 46, and these are the locks. And the 25 lock is called the way. And the key for that lock in this current cycle is 37. So we have the way of the family. And this is the whole, as I discussed before, this nature of like we want to support each other and we want to support our friends and we want to support our family and we want to, be together and have that glue and feel part of the community and feel loved and like all of this sticky tribal stuff. This is the way. And yeah, I think it's quite obvious that especially we have to look at this in a larger historical time frame over the last 400 years that this is the way of the family and it hasn't always been this way because there have been different keys. We haven't always really cared about our neighbors, have we? I don't think that's a human trait. Yeah. What I love to look at is the temple. So the 46, the lock. This is called the temple. And the temple is, what do we worship in this era? And the the key to this lock is the 40. And if you really think about it, like this blows my mind. I think as a projector, learning that I'm a projector, I'm not here to work. But what do we worship in this current age? We worship work. And something interesting that, I was listening to in some of the lectures is like, jobs are a really recent phenomenon. Like, yes, there have always been traditional jobs, like scribes, blacksmiths, I don't know, artisans, these kinds of things. But if you think about the level of detail and the amount of different jobs we can have, right? We worship work. We worship work, and we have to work. That's how we feel as a society. We have to work because we have to earn our money to survive. And I'm not trying to deny the truth of that, but it's a mechanism. And why do we work? Why do we have to work for the, there's always been ways of the exchange and the bargain, but it's just really interesting to really sit on that. And I think, at least for me as a projector, that it's just really, the conditioning is so deep. We carry it within us. It's everywhere. And it's obvious that work is changing. The nature of work is changing. Like, this is not just a human design reflection. Like, this shift from collectivized, like, unions and what have you, to the nature of precarious work and the gig economy. And we have less benefits from, less security and less benefits from the nature of work that we do. At least a lot of people, there's this transition to that. And this, to me, is indicative of the coming change, of the coming individual change, and the breaking down of the tribal support mechanisms, where it's like, you work your 9 to 5 and you get your benefits and you get your, how many days off a year, and you get your same salary or whatever it is. We know it's not like that anymore. And this is just a symptom of the breakdown of this axis. Coffee break? So the other locks in the vessel, we have the 10. This is called the nature. And the key for this lock is the 9. What is 9? 9 is all about focus, and it's all about detail. And you look at this era, and how much detail and focus there is on, like, every little tiny little thing. Like, it's logical, it's collective. Interesting, as we move into the Sleeping Phoenix, the new era, there is no collective circuitry. I believe so, like 90% sure. So we have this incredible focus and detail, and you think about the types of work we do, and these, like, even just making, like, when I think about this incredible focus and detail, I think about what goes into making our electronics, and all the detail, and all the, I'm saying ingredients, but all the materials that goes into making a phone or a computer. Right, that's part of this frequency. And the polarity of that is a 16. And 16 is the gate of skills. It's a gate of talent, forming part of that channel of talent. And the lock for this is the 15, the pattern. And we have to have skills to get a good job. We have to have talent. Um, we have this incredible development of skills and needing to have skills. Excuse me. Um, Needing to have the right skills to, get a decent paying job and, think about the school system, one of these larger institutional structures where we're building up the skills in, in children, and then university, you're teaching skills. This is all part of this era. And thinking about this axis in terms of logic and collective, it's very future based. We're always projecting into the future and trying to predict, trying to prepare, making logical assumptions of, oh, okay, if this is where we're at now, this is what's going to happen. And with this coming, like with the Sleeping Phoenix, it's nearly all individual except for one gate. And it's existential. And, human design, living by one's authority, inherently, you live existentially. You begin to live a lot more existentially, right? Because decisions are a moment by moment basis. I mean, even if you're emotional, yes, it takes a bit more time, but you're not making an emotional, well, I guess I can't say this always, but not usually making an emotional decision like years and years in the future, right? We're dealing with what's coming up in our lives now. Like, this is the nature of following strategy and authority. And you have to realize that, human design came for us to survive in this new era. And, maybe that sounds really extreme, but it's going to be very, very confusing for most people. For most people who've been relying on these tribal support mechanisms, when they start to disintegrate, who's going to be their authority? Who's going to tell them what to do? You live by your own authority. You always know what to do. You don't have to ask anyone. You don't have to rely on anyone. Yeah. I guess just want that to sink in, Okay, I'm not going to talk about all of the rest of the locks. I'm just going to talk about one specifically. And the lock is the 13th gate, the witness, and the key is the 61. So with the precession of the equinoxes, basically what happens is we start in, it's going backwards. So we start from the 6th line and we're moving progressively to the 1. So we're in a first line phase now, which happened in 1961, I believe, in the 60s. So this is, as I said, like the culmination of the peak. And this key of the 61, in a truth, being the 61-1, occult knowledge, in a truth, in a first line phase. Ra describes it as the return to Eden, because this is the time where we will find, this is the time to find answers. This is the time to find inner truth. And if you can see how many, revelations and truth is being, has been found in these last 60 years, something like that. How much has been revealed? How much have we done as a species in these last 60 years? It's incredible, the truth that we found, like scientific discoveries that we have made, and all these things, human design, a system of truth is being revealed in this era of, inner truth. And this need to find answers, to get to the bottom of things, it's going to change. And it's going to be, because we don't have this support in the new cycle, this is the time to find the answers. And when people talk about the door is closing or the door will shut on 2027, they mean that it's, if you don't find the answers before 2027, you're only going to find what's on your fractal. So, for example, human design, we have so many people that are interested in human design, which is great. Not all of them are meant to be here, and not all of them on the fractal. People could have interests in a lot of different things, right? There's all these different truths available that we can find and investigate. But it's not going to be like that forever. And, if you don't get human design now, then it's increasingly harder. It will be increasingly harder to find it, to get it when we move into 2027. I feel like I keep sipping my coffee now every 2 seconds, but I'm gonna stop talking soon because my throat is starting to scratch. Sleeping Phoenix, just to end on what is the Sleeping Phoenix? What is it going to be like when we move? Yeah, when the background frequency changes. We're all going to be very busy being selfish about ourselves. 3420 axis. That's going to be the main, the root definition of this new era. And, if we're going to be, one of the keys is going to be the 55-6, which is the line of selfishness. Human design is about being radically selfish. This process is so selfish. And it feels, I think, the reason why this process feels so difficult in this era is because we're beginning to not resonate to this background frequency of the cross of planning, right? We're becoming an individual, we're honoring our own authority, we're fuck the tribe, I'm gonna be myself. And, in an era where we're dominated by the 3740, it can be difficult to go against that grain. But let me tell you, when we move into this new age, human design is going to be radically supported in the sense that it is needed. As I said, you can get away in this era with trusting other people to make your decisions for you, but we won't be able to when we move into this new cycle. So, I love human design because you can look at it from this very personal, individualized, let's look at the differentiation in our charts, and, it's all fun. And then what I really love is looking at human design through the lens of evolution and the lens of history and the macrocosm. We're all, microcosms of the macrocosm, but it's true. And being able to see this, obviously it's not like we can stop it, but being able to see it as it's happening is just, I mean, to me it's like incredible, but I'm a bit of a nerd, so yeah. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. So I hope you enjoyed those reflections, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.